boys when they were very little, of course.
Yeah.
Were there through a very traumatic and emotional time.
Yes.
Let's start with that first initial clip that we talked about where Harry was saying that he and his brother are on different paths at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, how worrying is that for you?
Of course they're on different paths. William is on a different trajectory to Harry. William and Kate are headed for the boardroom and eventually the monarchy, and crowns will be on their heads. It's a very different path. It's mapped out for them. They know where they're going.
So you don't think he was alluding to the fact that there's been a bit of a falling out between the two of them?
No, I don't think so. I think he knows that they're on different paths. And Harry and Meghan are headed for the factory floor. They're headed for the people. They're going to do the groundwork and support Kate and William when they're king and queen.
Well, that's not going very well, then, if that's the path.
Well...
Because they don't seem to feel like the people love them, at the very least.
Well, Harry has always been one of the most popular members of the royal family.
Yeah.
And I think he has that empathy which his mother had.
I think that they seem to be almost feeling that they're misrepresented. You've got two really privileged people here. Obviously, they have both had they're in the terrible media spotlight, which is tough.
What she's saying is she's tried to have the stiff upper lip and tried to do the thing that we've seen royals do in the past, which is not to talk about their emotions and how they're feeling. But she can't. And actually, in a way, is it wrong that she shares that? Because do we just want them to be gorgeous and away and in an ivory tower up there, or do we want them to be real?
I think we want them to be real, but we also want them to show that they do understand that they have the privilege. I think they're being badly advised.
Juli, you can speak from a sort of perspective as somebody who's come from the outside, come from the States, and sort of married into this extraordinary world and, and the aristocracy.
You know, I mean, my heart goes out to Meghan, to be honest, and not just because she's a fellow American. I mean, I know exactly what it's like moving over here. I mean, yes, we speak the same language, but that's about it. You know, the culture's completely different. I think they both really, really tried. But at the end of the day, we must remember that Harry lost his mother age 11. They are going to be so protective. He's now protecting his wife. He's protecting Archie. He doesn't want anything to happen to his family. And yes, maybe they've taken a few steps not in the right direction as far as the private jets goes, but they're learning. They're a newlywed couple. They've just had a baby.
They can't have it both ways, though, can they? They can't say, we want to be real, we want to share. And then when people ask questions that are personal as opposed to their charity work, reject it. That's the argument, isn't it?
And it is the argument, and I do see that. And again, I think that they're still trying to find their feet. But in Meghan's case, and I'll just go on Meghan, because that's the one that I really do follow a lot, is she has been scrutinized basically ever since, you know, we found out a little bit more about her family and her father and the letters. And it's just day after day after day that Meghan is scrutinized for everything she does.
Anyone
would crack, especially having a baby.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said about Harry losing his mother at such an early age. That had such an impact on him. I saw him at that time. I knew him. He was devastated. And to walk behind his mother's coffin in front of the world...
Why does he still feel that that was what killed her?
He does feel that the media did hound her to her death. I was with her at that time.
He doesn't accept what a role she herself played. She colluded, to some extent, with the media. I know at least 2 Fleet Street editors who she used to ring up.
Try and deal with it in the only way that
she was trying to get the moral high ground, to try to get the narrative to her by actually ringing Fleet Street editors and saying, I'm going to be at Carolyn Pride's in Wimbledon at 8 o'clock at night.
Well, I very often rang Fleet Street editors too, on her behalf. And that was because she was a survivor.
They came back from that trip to Africa and it was extraordinary. I mean, it was really wonderful to see him there and the images of his mum and him in the minefield. And it was all so positive. And then they suddenly come back and they're suing the newspapers.
Well, why shouldn't they?
No. I'm not suggesting either way, but it felt like that suddenly put everybody on the back foot after all that goodwill. How do they turn this round? Because Tom's done this documentary for ITV. We want more from them, we want to hear from them, and he's asked them some questions, and they've been open and they've been honest. And whether we like the answers or not, that's how they're feeling. But if the strategy is slightly wrong, how can they save that?
I think they must have good PR people, and I have a feeling that they're not actually listening to them, because nobody would have suggested that they start, oh, poor me. Obviously, be open, but there are ways and ways of doing it. And when you come back from a hugely successful tour, they must have known that the whole media narrative was going to switch to the interview with Tom. I mean, we've already seen how damaging the interviews that the Prince of Wales and Diana gave to Martin Bashir and Dimbleby. That did terrible things for both their reputations, and I do think they would do well to listen to good PR people rather than ignore them.
I think as well, but I do think, I mean, after watching that last night, it wouldn't surprise me if they move to America. I mean, why would they stay here? Why on earth would you stay here?
Africa might be the place.
They're scrutinized all the time. I mean, America, we love them. I mean, the press in America about Meghan and Harry is incredibly positive. It's not this tabloidy stuff. And again, it's when I first moved over here 20 years ago, I just thought, what is this British tabloid? We just don't have the same thing. As Meghan said, in America, they are so loved over there. Why wouldn't you want to live and raise your children in a place where you're being written about
I'd like
positively?
to think they feel loved by the people.
They are, and they're loved by a lot of the press. The moment they don't make the false steps, the moment they don't do the silly, hypocritical things, the press are all over them.
You said that you used to hide the news. You used to hide the news of the world from Diana because you didn't want her to see it, even though she sent you out to get it.
Absolutely.
Is that the answer?
Well,
just
of course
ignore
it's
the
answer.
press?
Well, the Prince of Wales sent me a memo one day and said, I no longer want to see any other newspapers in my house. And if the princess wants a newspaper, she'll have to go out and get one herself. That's his attitude. He doesn't see tabloids, he doesn't see newspapers. Ignore it. It doesn't matter what other people say. It's who you are. It's what you do.
If they don't do that, you think they'll go?
I think we're on a sticky wicket here because Diana was on the process of finding another home in another country. She went to South Africa herself. She went to see Christian Barnard in South Africa, and she looked for properties because Charles Spencer has a property down there as well. She couldn't find one. So her attention turned to America, strangely enough. It's ironic, isn't it, that she was looking for an apartment or a house on the west coast of America.
I think they've already said they may well take 6 weeks off as well.
Yeah. I mean, Archie has dual citizenship. You know, Archie is half American, half British. He can move there, no problem. I absolutely think that is probably... it would not surprise me at all.
Would we still pay for them if they were living abroad, though?
Well, maybe she'll go back to
tax?
acting.
Well, I think
that was why she came over here to, you know, very much get on into the sort of English social scene, because I think that acting was coming to an end, and I'm sure that it would be impossible, really.
Well, the role that she was in Suits was coming to an end, but that happened because she met Harry and wanted to step back. I mean, she's still a great actress. I mean, there's no doubt.
She's a brilliant actress. I mean, that was that. You know, if Suits is really a stepping stone to the next big thing. She just decided to put a pause on it. So
I don't want to lose them. I don't want to lose them.
I mean, I think
we
they've
love
got
them.
so much to
we want to
give.
see more of them and Archie. We want to see
and
the next
she's so
baby.
different from Princess Diana. I mean, she was in her mid-30s and a very experienced, brilliant, clever woman,
the British,
and not naive.
Yeah.
And
British
then,
press needs to look at starting to be a little bit kinder.
Diana will
What's
be
happened
so
to
proud
kindness?
of them. She will be so proud of Harry and William and the work they're doing, continuing her legacies. They should, and continue her unfinished work.
OK. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.